I'm just laughing, lads, because I'm going to have to come up with a new countdown video. Christopher Ayer, Scott Brown, Odsonne Edouard, the three players who probably aren't going to be here next season. But the good news is I don't need to worry about that for the next few weeks, because there is no game coming up over the next few weeks. July the 21st or 22nd, I think, is the next time we'll see Celtic in action. Ryan, you came right on. The first thing you said was, thank God it's all over, and that pretty much sums up the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I could have used more choice words than that, but I decided to rein it in a wee bit. I feel like I'm in a celebratory mood as well, because I'm just so glad this season is over. It's been an absolute nightmare from basically the start to the finish, so I'm quite glad that it's finished and I don't need to think about Celtic for a wee while.
I would say that the kind of perfect encapsulation of our season today would have been 0-0, but that wouldn't be being correct, because losing the game 2-0 or 3-0 would have probably been a more perfect finish. But it was very tiring, John. It was a struggle to watch that game today. I was flicking between that and watching other stuff going on. Glad it's all over.
Yeah, I was pretty scunnered as soon as I seen the team today. Not going to lie. Like, I don't pretend to be a football manager at all. I'm not a backseat manager, so to speak, or try not to be at least, but it's the final day of the season. I've never known a Celtic team on the final day of the season not to give, some youngsters at least some sort of major opportunity. I know that we got to see more of Montgomery and Ndombele midweek, but I thought today was another good opportunity to test themselves against Hibs at Easter Road, which is a difficult fixture on the calendar. And I know John Kennedy's wanting to sign off with a win for Scott Brown's last game. Didn't turn out like that, and it's another lost opportunity for me. For me, it's the final John Kennedy letdown, so to speak. I don't know how you guys felt about it.
March the 7th, we lost the league. March the 7th, and what have we learned about the team since then? What new players have we had an extended look at? I know Montgomery got a wee chance. Stephen Welsh was getting chances before that, but that was out of necessity rather than actually wanting to give youth a chance. Karamoku Dembele, 20 minutes combined, something like that. I just think it's been a real missed opportunity. We've got so many players around the squad that we don't know if they're good enough. We don't know if Albion Ayeti's good enough. We don't know if Mikey Johnson's good enough. There's a few we do know that they aren't good enough, but it's frustrating for me, and I agree. I'm not surprised though, John. I'm not surprised when I saw that team today. Were you?
I was a little bit, because John Kennedy in his press conference almost promised there might be a fresh look to the side, and what did that result in? Montgomery and Ndombele on for 10 minutes at the end of the season? Not good enough for me.
Is the issue here, perhaps, Ryan, just playing devil's advocate and for some reason wanting to defend John Kennedy, that we don't have the quality youth players at the club to step up and even play in a dead rubber?
Well, I mean, they showed that on Wednesday that they did have the quality. I mean, I thought Montgomery had a great game the other day, and then Dembele came on and scored a goal, gave us some natural width that we've been missing all season. It shows that we did have an option in right midfield that we could have played, because Forrest was out for basically the whole season. So it was a bit disappointing in that aspect. But I mean, John Kennedy's not won an away game since he came in as Celtic manager. Like, that is not good enough at all. I don't know what he was trying in his last game by playing the old guard, but we didn't learn anything. We just saw more of the same old players. Even Griffiths coming on before Ayeti. Ayeti didn't even come on today. Are we just writing off 5 million now?
I mean, are you guys sick of John Kennedy now? Are you feeling like, I know obviously no one wants him to be manager, but even as a coach or in some capacity Celtic, are you just kind of wanting him to leave the club completely now?
Yeah, I'll be honest now. I think his time's up now. I think we're hoping that Eddie Howe's going to come in now. Maybe he'll get announced in the next couple of days. I don't know. You're hoping that he just brings in his own staff, his own coaches, and then we just get a clean slate, much like a clean break with Scott Brown. I think it should be a clean break with John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan as well, to that extent.
Has the stuff that we said a few months ago, John, about the importance of having some sort of continuity there and having someone who knows the club, has that changed because John Kennedy can't pick a decent, exciting Celtic team? Has that changed because John Kennedy, as a manager, can't win a game away from home?
I mean, it seems to me I've talked about this before, but it's almost a perception issue now. Like, if John Kennedy does stay, then a whole section of the supporters are going to automatically be worried that it's just the same old regardless of the change in manager. I think there's enough staff behind the scenes that the fans don't particularly know about that probably will be staying on to kind of have that continuity even without Kennedy. I don't think Kennedy needs to be there for that. I'm rapidly coming down to the conclusion that perhaps John Kennedy has to go completely. And he's been at the club for a long time. He probably knows the club better than anyone. But for me, that was just, again, it was just old rope today. And we need new ideas. We need fresh tactical thinking. We need fresh ideas when it comes to team selections. Probably training is too, but we obviously don't know about that as punters. But yeah, I'm just looking for fresh ideas, and I don't think John Kennedy fits into that at all. And if you're selling it to the Celtic support, if you're selling this next project, then I think Kennedy needs to go.
I feel like we've switched our roles, haven't we? It was the other way around a matter of weeks ago. You've clearly been stung quite badly from John Kennedy's team selections. I don't blame you if you look at the replies to the tweet that Celtic sent out at 12:15 or whatever. I think Scunnard would pretty much sum up things. I wouldn't be against keeping John Kennedy around, provided he's not the manager. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't want him to be the manager, but he's shown in the past, what he could do under previous regimes, successful Celtic regimes, and up until this season, he'd won pretty much everything he'd put his hand to at Celtic. It's all about whether Eddie Howe wants him or not, or whether Eddie Howe would rather working with someone else. From what I gather, Eddie Howe has quite an exclusive group of people that he likes to take to the various clubs he goes to. Now that's a worry if Eddie Howe does come in when he eventually leaves Celtic. That is a worry that he takes loads of people with him. But it will be interesting to note whether he feels he needs someone at Celtic, or whether, as you say, Johnny, feels there's already enough people, Tim Williamson, Stevie Woods, other people that fans wouldn't know about at the club. Scott Brown, we move on to him. Pretty dull end to his Celtic career. Of course, it goes without saying, Ryan, he won't be remembered for what happened today. He'll be remembered for the 23-24 trophies that he won at the club. I was kind of crying out for us to get a free kick late on and Scott Brown, or a penalty even better, and Scott Brown to be asked to take it. But that's just what was that old show on Sky Sports, Dream Team or something like that? That's that kind of thing. You don't get that in real life.
I don't think Willie
football.
Collin would have allowed that anyway, to be honest.
Can I just say quickly, Willie, that decision 4 minutes for time.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
Ridiculous. He managed to get a vitriolic response from me 4 minutes from time in the worst season ever. Horrendous. But Scott Brown, Ryan.
Yeah, an absolute legend, regardless of what certain pundits say. Me, I'm 23 years old. He's kind of all I've known for Celtic in terms of his career, in terms of, I got into Celtic in a sort of late age, at the age of 12, 13, and Scott Brown was the main man then, and he's the main man now, and he's leaving. So it's the end of an era. He's been some servant for Celtic. 22 trophies, I think he's got. He's had some career with Celtic, and I wish him all the best for the rest of his career, whether that be as a player and as a coach. What a player. Encapsulates the dominance that we've had over the last 10 years. It's sad to see him go, but I think it's the right time as well.
Favourite Scott Brown moments? For me, it's perhaps an underrated one, but his goal against Hapoel Beersheva, I always thought was one of his greatest moments, if not one of his most important moments. That was the goal that eventually saw us through that tie. I think it was 5-2 on the night, but it ended up being a crucial goal, scored in the last minute, a kind of half-volley effort. I loved that goal. Obviously, his goal against Rangers, Hamish, in the Scottish Cup as well.
Yeah, Kelly, Rugby Park. I was there that day. The atmosphere that day was incredible. That's when we got the 2 full stands at Rugby Park, and the Celtic fans, I maintain to this day, I've never seen limbs like that when that last minute goal comes in, because it was a frustrating afternoon, and it was against a stuffy Kelly under Steve Clark, and I think Kelly got a red card kind of 80 odd minutes, and we were pushing forward, and you always felt we would get one chance, and then for it to happen to Scott Brown, and he actually gets sent off after it. He gets a second yellow. That's the one that will probably stick with me. There was a thread going about in the huddle board, which I realise is a risky thing to bring to a live stream at the best of times, but there's a thread going on about Scott Brown's best game for the club, And one of the first few comments was a game that's kind of forgotten about now, a 0-0 draw against Benfica in the Champions League in 2012. And it was the immediate thought I had when I got that response. So that wasn't his best moment, obviously, because it was a 0-0 game. But in terms of Scott Brown's, crowning 90 minutes as a Celtic player, that was him at his very best. Ryan, best moment? Anything that we haven't said?
I'm gonna have to be cliched and say the Bruno moment against Rangers. I mean, to go down to 10 men, it's not just the goal; it's the performance of the man as well. He basically pulled us through that game, and we probably should have won it, even though we were down to 10 men for the large majority of that match. What a player! Another one I would say would probably be the St Johnstone goal, where he scores from about 35 yards out. There wasn't a great crowd that day, but what a goal, man! Everyone was still going mental when he scored. We were like, Scott Brown's just hit that out of nowhere. It was mental.
Funny story about that Rangers game. I actually had a football trial over in your neck of the woods, John, in the East Coast, and I missed the game, and I was travelling back trying to avoid the score so I could go home and watch it. I'd recorded it, driving past all the Rangers buses, trying to look into the Rangers buses to see the reaction in their faces to work out whether it had been a positive or a negative result for Celtic. Came back, and that was a hell of a game, a hell of a goal. So Scott Brown's final game today. Who else do you think? It's probably easier to say the people who will be here next season. Was that the last we saw of Odsonne Edouard today, John?
Well, by all accounts, and I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but he's likely to be heading to the Olympics to play for the French under-23s team, which kind of rules him out the first couple of qualifiers for us. You're thinking, will a deal get done before that for him to leave the club? I'm not sure. I think Celtic might, wait till later in the window, or it might all be done a bit later in the window, but it's an interesting one. I'm pretty certain he's away. If he is going to play for Celtic again, it's only going to be a handful of times. I wouldn't be surprised if that was his last game, no. And you could say the same for the likes of John Joe Kenny, Mohamed El Younousi. I would take El Younousi back, but I'm just not sure if that's going to be done. So it is the end of the road for a lot of these players. Sad to see some of them go, and others not so much.
Yeah. Ryan, final viewing of Odsonne Edouard?
I think it is his last game. I did think about it a couple of days ago. He could be one of those players that you put in a Champions League qualifier, then when you get put out, you sell him in the next couple of days.
Gary Hooper style, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's one of those guys that you hold on, maybe you get a wee bit more value from playing in the Champions League, hoping they can get you to the next round. Gambling, that's a problem. We gamble with these sorts of things. No, it probably is his last game for Celtic. And what a player he's been. I think we've definitely got our money's worth in terms of Odsonne Edouard over the past 3-4 years. What a player he's been. In terms of other players, Kenny, definitely. El Younousi, probably. I think that's probably his last game as well today. I think he's seen why he didn't do so well in the Premier League, because he's just not got that bit of pace that you need down south. And taking too many touches as well. There was a chance in the first half that he should have. I was like, why have you not scored that? It was such an easy chance. Most other wingers in the league would have finished that, just more pacier wingers. But Christie as well is probably leaving. Griffiths probably is leaving as well. It is easier to say what ones are going to be staying than going, because it will be a complete and utter exodus of players, you would say.
When you talk about El Younousi's lack of pace, that does seem to be the case for a fair few of our players in our squad. David Turnbull's another one, extremely talented, and I think he'll go on to be a really good Celtic player in years to come, and probably a really good player in the English Premier League. But he does lack a bit of pace. Is there a concern there? You know, when Eddie Howe's coming in, a manager who tends to have teams that are pacey and dynamic, that basically what he's going to turn up with and see at Lennoxtown is a team of players who aren't particularly fit, aren't particularly quick, and don't have the right mentality.
All right. No, but in terms of Turnbull, I mean, I'm not that worried about Turnbull, because I think if he played in his proper position, which I would suggest is what people call a number 10, an attacking midfielder, I don't think he needs as much pace there than perhaps El Younousi does, to kind of expose the full-backs or the channel in between the centre-halves and the full-backs. Turnbull's all about vision for me, and even today I thought there was moments where I think he played the ball over the top for Edouard at one point, and it never quite worked out. I think Marciano or McGregor kind of nipped in and took the ball away from Edouard. But that kind of vision where he can kind of split a defence, I think he's one of the only players in our team that has the ability to do that. So I'm actually not too worried about Turnbull. I think he'll find his niche within the Celtic team under a new manager, and I certainly hope so. Anyway, that's my hopes for him. He is probably the player I'm most excited about at Celtic.
Well, he's not got a lot of competition, put it that way. Right, we will move to Eddie Howe in a wee second. Just first of all, that's the end of the season. 77 points we've taken this campaign. Last season, we only played 30 games because of COVID, and we still took more points. We took 80 points last season. That kind of puts it into a bit of context. 79 points we got in 2012, 2013, but that was a season we were beating Barca and so on. This is the worst campaign points-wise since season 1999-2000, when we somehow got 69 points. So that's how bad this
I remember
campaign...
that one. You guys don't, but I remember that season.
God, was it worse than this?
It was. Yeah, it feels quite similar in a way. That was obviously a terrible season, in more ways than one. But we also had a really good team, and it wasn't. A lot of people are making comparisons from then to now in terms of we need to scale the rebuild that Martin O'Neill brought to the club, but he had amazing players like Paul Lambert. Leaders in that dressing room, even away from the fact that Henrik Larsson was coming back from a leg break. There was leaders and heroes in that team that this Celtic team just doesn't have, believe me. There's just no comparison between some of these players. So it's a less valid comparison than some people are making out. But, the difference, what it does show is that a massive turnarounds can happen in Scottish football from one season to the next. And just because, we're 20 odd points behind Rangers this season doesn't mean that we won't be competitive next season. But it really does require some fresh ideas coming in. That's why we've all been pushing for that, really. But that was a terrible season. This season's been a terrible season. I don't know if I could compare them, but it's just been odd this season because there's been no fans in the ground. I've not been to a game, so it's hard to really compare the two. But yeah, big changes needed.
Yeah, me and Ryan and you, John, will all remember the Mowbray season as well, and that's the one season I can compare to this one. But that season didn't just feature in the wee thing I just read out, so we clearly got more points in the Mowbray season than we did this season. Which
Lennon came in and won basically every single one of his games, I think, apart from the Ross County semi-final. So that kind of gave us a boost. This season's worse than the Mowbray season, I would suggest, but by miles.
I think due to the fanfare of this season and what this season promised to the Celtic fans, it was going to be more impactful in terms of looking back on it.
Yeah, I'll ask you for a good moment from this season, one moment that made your heart sing. I'll give you a wee minute to think about it, because I'm going to bring in some comments from the wonderful people watching this video. We do appreciate you doing it. I know it's not easy. Robbie Smith saying if Howe comes in, he will bring in 2 coaches and Kennedy will stay. James McKenzie, sad to say, but I'm glad to see Brown leave after this season. In the past couple of games, we need the boost of sorrow. Keith McCall, John Kennedy has to go for his own sake. He's just like a leech now. Robbie Smith again, Montgomery should have played from the start, the same as Dembele. And big fan of the show, Mazhar Youssef, saying the season is over, but don't forget to buy your special walkout Brown 8 jacket. Have we ordered our Brown 8 jackets, lads?
£70.
It's out of date now.
Yeah,
he's playing for Aberdeen.
Yeah, it's out of date already.
I may or may not have commissioned some Eddie Howe printed mugs earlier today, but we'll have more updates on that in the coming years.
You're setting yourself up for a fall here. If this falls through, you're going to get it tight.
You see, I remember listening to the Grand Old podcast a couple of weeks ago, and you ended the show with How, and I was like, that's it.
Don't listen to him, everyone. God, that was How Mania, as I refer to it. Right, good moments, guys. Ryan, good moment from this season, a moment that made your heart sing, a moment that made you jump off the sofa and cheer.
I don't know about jump off the sofa and cheer because I was raging that the day before, but I would say Turnbull signing after the fanfare of last year, with the way that the way that the signing or the negotiations were so public and open for everyone to see, and then the fact that he failed his medical and he had to stay out the game for 6-7 months. The fact that we went back in for him and got him was brilliant, and then he showed. It took him a while to get in the team, which was mental. I know he got COVID and I had niggling injuries and that, but from December onwards, he's been a stalwart in the team. That's my highlight of the season.
Mine's Turnbull as well. Free kick against Hibs. We did go on not to win the game. I know that shows how far we've fallen, that's my moment of the season. That was an amazing free kick. That was when we had our, probably not even our B team, our C team out for that game, and we managed to get ahead. And I remember thinking, God, what a free kick that was. So that was my moment of the season. John?
Pretty much Turnbull related again, but the 3-2 win over Lille, when kind of Turnbull and Sorrow came into the team, Turnbull ended up scoring the winner that night. Obviously, I was excited when he signed as well. It took him a while. It took a while for Lennon to even give him a chance, but it felt like the Leo was his kind of coming out moment, and he's not really looked back since. So yeah, Turnbull's performance against Leo, he was the man of the match that night, and I think he set up a goal as well as scoring one. So I would say that.
Just laughing because some people are replying with their moments of the season, and let's just say they're Neil Lennon related, but I won't let you know what they are. Right, Eddie Howe, guys. When's it going to happen, Ryan?
I've got no idea, honestly. I'll be perfectly honest. I would love it to be in like half an hour's time, or maybe an hour's time, preferably, but I don't know. Depends on the whole situation with the coaches. I don't know if they can announce them before Brentford get put out by Brentford. Fingers crossed. Hopefully Ivan Toney does the business with that 4D chess that Peter Lawwell was on about. No, I don't know. It's just a guessing game at this point. I just want it done and finalised now so that I can actually look forward to something Celtic related.
John?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to predict. It was interesting. I've just following what various journalists have been saying over the last week. Stephen McGowan was on a podcast on Thursday, Graham Spears' podcast, basically admitting that the journalists have got the timeline of this all wrong, and it was probably more complicated than any of them would like, but that he's still hearing that it's ongoing and it's going to happen, and that any suggestion that Howe is stalling for the Premier League or that is completely wide of the mark. Stephen McGowan said he knows someone in the Eddie Howe camp, and said that when that's been put to that person about Eddie Howe maybe waiting for the Crystal Palace job or the Newcastle job, that it can be further from the truth, and that Eddie Howe's looking for a new challenge that isn't in the bottom half of the English Premier League table. So that's given me as much hope as anything at the moment. Dominic Mackay also spoke to the fans forum on Thursday. Harry Brady, the podcaster, was at that event and kind of updated on that, in the sense that Mackay obviously didn't talk about Eddie Howe, but on the subject of the new manager, basically said that it's still progressing in the way that they want it to, and that everyone just needs to be a little bit more patient. So it's a difficult one at the moment. It's as frustrating for me as anyone. But if it's not this week, then you could safely assume that it is the Bournemouth issue in the playoffs. But we'll just need to wait and see. It could easily, there's a lot of rumours about it being Monday, Tuesday, etc. You see that all over the message boards and Twitter just now. So exciting times. We just need to wait and see, really.
Bournemouth play their first leg against Brentford on Monday. The second leg, I think, is in a week today. So I think, fingers crossed, they get humped there, which I think Brentford will be the favourites going into that, because I think there was a good 10-12 point gap between them in the league. I think then a couple of days after the second leg, we could have it announced. Now, they could announce Eddie Howe beforehand and then announce the coaches after, but I feel like if the hold-up is that they're waiting to the end of the season, then they'll have to wait until the end of the season.
I mean, I was looking at when Brendan Rodgers was announced, and he was announced on his own, and then I think it was 5 days later Chris Davis was announced, who had been at Reading at the time. So there's precedent for a manager being announced, and then obviously Chris Davis was Brendan Rodgers' main man in the backroom staff, so there's precedent for that to happen. Doesn't need to all come in a winner. It's a little bit odd for me that the sporting director or director of football hasn't been announced yet, but again, we're just waiting and seeing on that as well.
Monday the 24th, of May is my answer, guys, and we're going to have a huge Eddie Howe party that day. We appreciate all the comments we're getting, and it feels a bit weird getting thanks for the season, because the season is over now, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to have just as many videos coming over the next wee while. Busy summer ahead of Celtic transfer news, new manager coming in, new chief executive formally starting as his own man anyway. We've got Scotland at the Euros. It is an exciting summer, guys, and we're going to have videos with you every step of the way. Ryan, John, anything you want to say to finish the video? Any final comments on this horror season?
Just glad the season's over and this is our final match reaction. And again, I know you're saying that the videos are going on, but to anyone that's been joining for the season, just thanks to all the viewers, and the growth of the channel and the website over the last 12 months has been unbelievable for us. Not been the season that we wanted, but hopefully it's a sign that when things get back to normality for Celtic, let's say, in terms of winning, that, you know, interest and engagement and, you know, will be even higher. So I'm happy with how things can progress at Celtic. It's just about the club actually getting the finger out and doing it.
Ryan?
Yeah, likewise, I'm just happy that the season's over. It's been a bit of a disaster. But there's definitely things to look forward to, obviously, with the manager. Thing getting closer and closer. We've got the Euros to look forward to. It's glad to focus on something rather than Celtic for a wee bit. I know there'll still be transfer talk in that, but yeah, all aboard for next season. Fingers crossed that we can put up a decent challenge, unlike this season.
That sums it up, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and we'll speak to you very soon. Take care, and hail.